I've always been fascinated with tarot readings, spirit, and beyond. And today on YQG and Bloom, I have my friend Sarah, who's more famously known as Sarah's Oracle on Instagram and TikTok. How you doing today?
I'm great. Thank you so much for having me.
I love anything to do with the tarot readings, which is probably why I've had them. And she has made this into a full-time job. This is wonderful. When did you know that you had a connection with spirit?
I would say it started around the age of 4 or 5. My dad passed away when I was very young. So I have a few memories of like still seeing him or playing with him and being confused about that, whether or not he was gone. I still believed he was here. And as I got older, I obviously came to the realization that he was not. And I was seeing him and he was still here. So my grandparents were really freaked out by that. My family was really freaked out by that, but it started very young. I would say that I'm a person who was born with it, but it's something that anybody can develop over their lifetime.
So you think everybody is born with that little bit of knowledge or closeness with the spirit, and it's whether they continue to keep it?
Yeah, honestly, it's really common in children. You'll notice them laughing or saying, "Grandma, Grandpa," and you're going, "Grandma and Grandpa haven't been here for a very long time." Or they point to pictures and they say, "I know that person." But as we get older, obviously we're taught and we're told that that's not normal. So I like to say everybody's born with the antenna. For some people, it continues to grow and you get a signal. For some people, it stays small, but anybody can develop that.
I always wanted it. And it just never came back for me. I tried, but I could fake it, but I don't want to be one of those.
Of course not. And I think that if you did develop that or sat in meditation or like had a few tools and practices, it could be developed.
Oh, okay. So it is something that you can develop if you tried hard enough?
Yeah. And again, it's just sitting in meditation, asking, being open, being receptive, because the second that we don't believe, that kind of closes the door to any type of communication. They could be talking to you all day and you wouldn't hear anything they're saying.
Can you give us a rundown on how you were able to make this a full-time job, especially in Windsor?
Yeah, so a lot of my clients are actually worldwide. I would say 5% of what I do is in the local community, 95% of it is online. So I started a TikTok account, and social media is honestly how I was able to make this my 9-to-5 or my full-time job and how I'm able to sustain myself. So I started posting TikTok videos. I went live every single night to gain a community, and I continue to do that to this day. It's been just over a year. I just passed my year anniversary, and I now have a really great following, an amazing community, and they help me live in my soul's purpose.
So you go every night live?
Yeah, I try. Sometimes it's maybe 5 nights a week if I'm busy, but I try to be very consistent because that's the way to grow on social media is people like that consistency. They like to know you.
That is so interesting. I know I've seen you when I'm scrolling, but last week was the first time that I actually caught you while you were live. And I was like, yay, I'm so excited.
Yeah, and whenever I see somebody that I know in my community, I get even more excited. I'm like, guys, I actually know that person. I'm like, oh my God, my friend.
That's so funny. And then I saw the roses and the gifts. So people are giving you donations as well?
Yeah, so
it's really nice.
It's so nice. And I always say, that's not why I do it. They're always free readings for my community. Some TikTok tarot readers and other TikTok creators actually make money, and that's how they make their money. I always say, hey, you don't have to, but know that I appreciate it if you're doing that.
And just so you know, she does state it because there's a ton of writing around her head while she's doing these readings, and it states that nothing is charged unless you actually do a private reading.
Exactly, yeah.
Which I like that. That's nice.
I have to let people know though, because there are a lot of scammers who pretend to be me and they just make their picture my picture. And if you're not the most media literate or you just aren't familiar with TikTok and how these things work, they will reach out pretending to be me. So I also have to let people know I do not have any other accounts. I will never DM you. Don't get scammed.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the other thing that I did notice on there. And it's like you can't have nothing nice anymore.
No. They're always there trying to make a dollar. So you can be psychic too. You don't have to pretend to be me. You can do that on your own.
Well, then that's work.
I know.
That's not fun.
No.
They can pretend everybody's happy, everybody's going to win $1 million, and they end up with money in their pocket. It's sad.
Very.
If you don't mind me asking, because I did not check, how many followers do you have currently on TikTok?
Yeah, I think I'm just about to hit 72,000. So I'm just
72,000?
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's very cool.
So you said that you do Zoom readings with people all over the world. Where is the farthest place?
I think the farthest, just geographically, would be New Zealand or Australia. But I have read for people like in Portugal and Italy, in the UK. It's really anywhere you can think of. I've probably done a reading for them.
And do they stay as continuing clients?
Yeah, you would be surprised by how many people reappear maybe every 6 months just to kind of see what the energy is, get the download of what's coming. I have an amazing client base and people that I consider friends now who are frequent visitors.
Do you have a lot of them coming back going, oh my God, you were spot on?
You know what? Yeah. And as a psychic or as a tarot reader, we're not going to get everything right 100% of the time. It's not possible to do that. But I'm oftentimes surprised even by how many times people come back and say it happened the exact way you said. And sometimes it's not a positive thing. So I don't love to hear that all the time, but I do hear it quite often.
Now, you said that you're full-time for the last year. How long have you been doing readings or in touch with spirit?
So yeah, it started at 16 when I was gifted my first ever tarot deck from my best friend, and we would have these weekend-long sleepovers where we would just pull the cards. Okay, what's going to happen Monday? 5 of Wands, we're not getting in a fight that day. Those types of things, right? So since about 16, I started showing this to my friends and talking about it more outwardly with family. So I'm 28 now, not good at math off the top of my head, but it's been quite some time. 12 years?
So you're also starting to do private readings and parties as well?
Yes, it's amazing. If anybody reaches out and they say, hey, I have a birthday party, I have a girls' night coming up, would you like to come out? Just in the Windsor, Essex area, I was amazed to even have that. But in April, I have a really amazing opportunity. I am flying out to LA for a event to do what I do, and I'm just flabbergasted that little old me is being sent out that way.
And DM her that I'll come with her just for the hell of it.
Just for the ride.
In Windsor, we have Wolf and Rebel, and you've done a lot of readings there when they have them. You just did one on the weekend to celebrate, was it your 1-year anniversary of doing pop-ups there?
Yeah, my first ever. So I think it was actually March 8th. That might have been the exact same day. It was my 1-year anniversary, my first ever in-person tarot readings with strangers or people that I didn't know, just in the community. So it was a really amazing way to celebrate and to give back. We were donating to Drouillard Place. So we had people come in. The readings were free as long as you brought canned goods or a donation, and we had a fantastic turnout.
So there was a ton of them?
3 boxes full and $200 cash to be donated.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
I'm sure that's really helpful.
Oh, it's going to be so amazing. I'm dropping that off this week, and I can't wait to see.
There's always going to be naysayers. They're always going to say, well, this is fake, this is phony. How are you able to do readings on Zoom when you're not in person? Like, how do you get that person's energy?
Yeah, so I meditate prior to me sitting down. Let's say I have 4 clients a day. I'll set up a couple of hours before. I will tune into their energy. I ask that everybody come with an open heart and mind and that they allow me into their auric field. So I'll meditate, I'll call forth my guides and their guides, I'll establish a connection and just see what messages are coming through, pull a few cards before we sit down. And it's really no different than meeting in person. You'd be surprised how many people think if they're on the other side of the world, we can't connect. But as long as I'm in your presence, our guides are present and they connect us no matter where we are.
Now, I've seen a ton of different tarot cards. Are they all basically the same thing?
Yeah, so in the traditional Rider-Waite deck, all 78 cards are going to have the same meaning no matter what deck you go to. They're all going to have different illustrations and artwork, but it's how they're laid out, the questions that are asked, what cards appear with what card that's going to change or influence the message with the specific meanings.
Now, on Saturday, because I did drop off some food, what was that one deck that you had displayed out that was really, really pretty? And I think that was a different deck. Was that an aura deck or something like that?
An oracle deck, yes,
Oracle
exactly.
deck.
Yeah.
And what is different from that? Or is it just the pictures?
Yeah, so it will be the pictures and the messages. An oracle deck is something that a spiritual creator sits down and meditates on and asks what messages would like to come forth, and they will be wildly different than a tarot card. Let's say, for example, those cards will say rest, or some of them are animal decks to connect with your animal guides. So it's still messages from spirit, just not in a traditionally formatted tarot layout.
Now I was playing with the deck when I was there, and I pulled up a card, and I'm like, what does this mean? And I think it was the Nine of
Cups.
Nine of Cups. And she had said that something had fallen through and it was meant to be, and she didn't realize that actually something had fallen through 2 days before, and that was pretty cool to find out that it was meant to be.
Yeah, I think now looking back, it was the Five of Cups and the Nine of Cups, to say the Five of Cups is something we feel we have lost, but something still exists for us, and the Nine of Cups is wish fulfillment through that loss. So to say the setback was actually a blessing.
Now, we did bring some cards today because this is always fun to have a reading.
Now, I'm wondering, is there maybe a question you might have or something you'd like us to look into? Something you're comfortable sharing?
Well, I have started a new journey, some new interests, and I'm just wondering if they are going to take me in a different direction than I'm already in.
Okay, that's a good question. Let's pull a couple cards here and let's just see what makes itself known. Okay.
So we also, if a card flips over, you leave that out. It's meant to be out.
Yes, that's, some practitioners will just shuffle, take a couple of piles, cut the deck, and take what's on top. Every tarot reader has a different style of reading. Now, I did have the Four of Pentacles coming out first, and this card is representative of holding on to something too long, or maybe the idea that we've been staying stuck in a place. A chapter of our life is meant to close. So if you feel like you're clinging on to anything, whether that's a belief system about how we can make money or what our life is supposed to be like at this time, your guides kind of just ask that you open your arms and you open the door to whatever blessings. The Ace of Pentacles is a new opportunity that will offer some sort of financial reward to you. So, hey, this is feeling aligned. And then the Page of Cups, it feels a little more creative. It feels a little more dreamy. Or your guides are asking you again to step into maybe a less structured way of moving through your daily life to invite in those new opportunities and blessings. But it does feel like we're still at the beginning stages. The pages are very young within the tarot, so we're somewhat at square one, but this has the opportunity to develop into a very stable pathway if you let go and open up to receive.
That does mean something. And is that the Page of Cups?
The Page of Cups.
Now, Sarah's not aware that, unless she's watched some of my podcasts, that I do have OCD. I've had it for years. Some of my tics I don't have to do as much anymore, and it is slowly starting to go away, which is it's always been my blockage of getting things done, because this, and this would have to be done in order for me to move forward. Yeah. It used to be vacuuming for me. I would vacuum a few times a day, and now I'm down to twice a week.
Hey.
Which is good.
And that's making space in your life for new opportunities and blessings. So this seems like a really, really beautiful pathway for you.
That's really cool. And honestly, I'm not just saying that because I ran into you for 5 minutes on Saturday because I was on my way to do another podcast. And I mean, she's busy, I'm busy. We don't get to talk a lot. No. And it's not something I just walk around going, hey, I have this. Yeah. Hey, I have that. So do you see yourself traveling more with this or doing more events in the Windsor-Essex County area or outside?
Yeah, I would love to. I feel like this summer I'm really looking forward to maybe popping up at some sort of market or some sort of in-person event where I can have a table. And even if I'm not offering readings then, just communicating with people about their guides and maybe meditation tips. So I'm looking forward to the summer and getting out into the community a bit more.
Oh, that would be fun. Yeah, I think especially having them maybe learn how to meditate or to find their inner peace so that they could hear or listen for spirit.
Exactly. And if anybody else wants to fly me out to LA or Hawaii, wherever, call me, DM me. I'm in.
Unless it's like 90 or 100 degrees out here, then we'll go somewhere a little cooler, like England. Yeah.
Hey, take me to Scotland. I'm ready to go. Call me. I'm free.
And I want to be her manager. So.
We're getting there. I'm going to need some help soon.
Hey, I'm there.
Perfect.
Now, one thing I do want to ask you is, what is spirit? Because I've heard, the Long Island medium. I've heard a lot of people say spirit. Yeah. What is spirit?
So spirit I like to use as a term just to describe your team, whether that is your guides, your loved ones on the other side that have passed, your higher self, whomever. Some people like to work with deities, like Aphrodite is a goddess of love. She's somebody who can be channeled, you can pull her energy, and some people like to work with Mother Mary. So if you practice the Christian faith, it's just anybody who exists outside of our realm of perception in energy connected to you on your spirit team.
Now, there are people that are really religious that are not happy with this. And then you have people that are on the opposite end of the spectrum that are atheists, that don't believe in the spirit world. You explained it to me when we met about energy. And this is how I find that I think they could all kind of figure it out. So what is energy?
So yeah, I like to actually refer to this as source. I believe personally as an omnist that any and all God or deity or religion exists in one conscious energy that we are all created from. Kind of like that Big Bang, the universe created all of us so that it could experience itself. But the idea that I'm actually just tapping into a form of energy that probably hasn't been scientifically recognized yet. It's funny that you mentioned Teresa Caputo, though, because they actually monitored her brain during a session, and they found that her processing speed, which typically does not raise beyond a certain point once you reach maturity as an adult, her processing speed doubled and went back down when she finished a channeling session. So I do think that there is some scientific explanation for us just being able to tap into pockets of energy, because energy is never destroyed. It can only be transformed. That's why I say your loved ones are never gone. They're just different. And there are certain people who are more adept at communicating and finding that energy and pulling it into you. So I do think there's science to this. It just hasn't been recognized yet.
I really like how you put that, because this way anybody can look at these cards and read them and understand them. And it's not saying there is a God, there isn't a God. It's just saying that everybody has energy.
Yeah, of course. And really, tarot at the heart is an introspective tool. It's not always used to predict the future or connect with somebody's guides. Sometimes it can just help you unlock a subconscious piece of a puzzle that you weren't aware you needed to remove a blockage or move forward in your life, or help you realize there was something that you were still holding on to that you didn't realize needed to energetically be let go of for a new door to open. So a lot of times it's not always psychic. It really can just be used as a form of introspective awareness and opening.
Now, are tarot readers also psychic?
That's a good question. So not all tarot readers have psychic gifts, but to be an intuitive tarot reader, which I kind of call myself, you're able to tap into somebody's energy field and read deeper than just what the cards are presenting. But anybody can learn to read tarot. You don't have to be a psychic.
And when I say psychic, I mean you can't predict the future.
So,
or can you?
Well, funny you'd say that. So as a clairvoyant, I'm somebody who often dreams of future events and can tap into possible future timelines. But the beauty of free will, the gift that we're all given here in this incarnation, is that you get to decide whether or not what I see happens. I always like to say, if you pack up and move to Australia on a whim tomorrow, obviously the path that I've foreseen for you changes because you decided to make a quick, unexpected change. So I can sometimes predict future events, but nothing is ever 100% set in stone.
Do they come to you in dreams, did you say?
Yeah, it comes to me very often in dreams, and that's actually outside of connecting with spirit, how I knew I had some sort of gift. I would have dreams about people before they passed away. I would have dreams about really big world events before they would happen. Sometimes small things like conversations with friends or random happenings around me. People call that sometimes déjà vu, but I sometimes do and still do have dreams of the future.
Does that happen often?
It's been happening a lot more recently. It's not always something that's fun. I will say that oftentimes it's big world events or natural disasters. I started dreaming about plane crashes, witnessing them in December before all of those plane crashes were on the news. So
yeah, they're insane, the amount.
yeah, it's not always fun to be in the dream, and it's not always fun to wake up in that feeling and not be able to share that with others, but I try as best as I can. If they're being given to me, it's clearly for a reason.
It's got to be a really big burden to have these bad visions, bad dreams, bad whatever you want to call them.
Of course, but if I can help one person with a message, or if I can share one piece of information that has the ability to change an outcome or shift an outcome, that's must be why I'm being given the dream. So while it's difficult to deal with, I'm also open to receiving whatever spirit thinks I need to give to other people.
So if you have somebody that comes to you for a reading and you have seen something, maybe the person that's with them, will you tell them, like, I kind of had a dream about you last night? I don't mean to sound corny, but I don't know how else to put it.
It's literally so funny that you would mention that, because at the tarot pop-up, I didn't tell the person, but I had a dream about a complete stranger. And when they walked up to me, I went, oh, in my mind, I'm going, I just dreamt about you last night. Funny to see you here. I obviously didn't bring that up.
Yeah.
But there are many times where I'll dream about a client before I meet them, a conversation before I meet them. And I'll always ask somebody before, because what people are signing up for is just tarot right now, technically. I'll always say, hey, I feel a loved one here. Are you okay with that? If not, that's totally cool with me. Or if a friend has come and they're not getting the reading, but I feel something for them, I'll say, are you cool with me delivering a message? I'm never going to cross a boundary though.
Now, when we did this tarot reading, this mini one, and it was just the cards that fell out, how is a normal tarot reading? I know you do it that way, but there are other ways as well.
Yeah, so in a traditional tarot reading, or what a traditional tarot reader might do is shuffle the deck, ask a question with the intention behind it. They might then split the deck into 3, which sometimes I honestly still like to do. And then they'll perform whatever tarot spread they like. I usually choose a 5-card reading where we lay 5 cards out. We have our situation, an obstacle you might come to face, action advised, what happens if you follow said action, and maybe what happens if you take a different course. So there are so many different types of spreads you can do, and each card will have an individual meaning to that spread.
Depending on a person's vibe when they sit down, does that determine what type of spread that you will perform?
Yeah, and their question can affect that as well. If somebody wants a more general reading, this is what I like to choose. If somebody wants more of a, can you give me a couple months ahead? Maybe I'll pull a card for each month just to see what's coming up. It really depends on what the person in front of me is looking to gain from our session.
But don't ask if I'm going to die, because you're not going to tell.
I can't tell you. They won't show me.
No, and I mean, the world doesn't work that way.
Exactly.
No matter how much energy there is, or how many spirits we have or advisors we have, there's just a few things you can't. They have to stay secret.
Yeah, there are a couple rules. No talking about when or how somebody will pass. No giving them the lottery numbers, because trust me, if they were capable of doing that, I would go play the lottery.
Exactly. All of the tarot readers, the mediums, the psychics, you guys would all be rich on an island.
Exactly. I wouldn't be working at all. I would just be with a margarita in my hand, lotteries in my bank account.
There you go.
Yeah.
So no death, no lottery numbers. Is there anything else that you guys just don't talk about, or is it pretty free reign after that?
Usually it's pretty free reign after that. I also don't like to talk about health, because again, I'm not a doctor, and I don't like to talk about legal matters because I'm not a lawyer. And I will always say to somebody, I can take a look into it if you'd like, but please take the advice of a lawyer or a doctor before you take the advice of a psychic. Because I still believe in Western medicine and those who have doctorates and have gone to school to have all of that knowledge. Will something like that, like somebody's health come up, if they have a different question, will you say, maybe you should go see a doctor? There have been a couple of times where what happens for me is I begin to feel in my body if there is an issue. So sometimes spirit will give me a pain in my kidneys. And if it's not gone away halfway through the session, I'll say very politely to the client, can I just ask you very quickly, are you experiencing any kidney pain, filtration issues? Maybe somebody has diabetes in the family. It's just coming up right now from your guides. 9 times out of 10, they go, oh my God, I just had a doctor's appointment, or I was just going to schedule an appointment. Do you think that's still what I should do?
Obviously.
Obviously, but sometimes they just need that extra push, or their guides need them to know, yes, you should go get this checked. But of course, I'm also never going to say, you have to go to the doctor and instill fear in somebody. I always advise them to follow their gut feelings. But if they're bringing it up to me, I usually try to deliver that message.
How can we put these up? Can we open these?
Let's see what we have here. Okay, so our situation at hand, 8 of Pentacles, focusing on work, focusing on your work venture, self-mastery. So exactly what we were talking about earlier, maybe wondering about what pathways are available to you and creating more space in your life to welcome in those new opportunities. The obstacle we face, though, is death or rebirth. Now,
okay, the death card does not mean that you're going to die.
no, as Hollywood would make it seem that is not what this card means.
I'm glad that one came up because I was going to ask you about the death card.
It just means rebirth, transformation. And this card specifically, it's a much more modern deck, has both names. It says death and rebirth. Traditional tarot decks will just say death on it. So this card speaks to massive endings in our life. And as this is the obstacle card, you might have a fear of change. Or again, the Four of Pentacles coming up earlier shows us you might have a reluctance to let go of something out of fear or out of self-doubt. It's something that we all deal with. So this shows us again that for that next collaborative opportunity, which is the Three of Pentacles, teamwork makes the dream work, working with others, to have that take place in your life, there are going to have to be other endings or transformations. It's almost the idea that through sacrifice or closing one door, a door to the past, the door to the future opens with many new friends, voices, and peers for you to work with. And at the end of the day, if you take that suggestion, or if you choose to let go, to let in a new blessing, the Ten of Pentacles speaks to longevity, inheritance, legacy, a life that we are so incredibly happy to create and leave behind, a life that we've always dreamt of. We do also have the Hierophant coming out here, which shows me that if you do not choose to move in this direction, you'll still have a very structured path. You'll still have a very structured way of living, a very fulfilling and aligning path. It just feels a little more exciting for you if you choose a new pathway or follow that passion.
Well, let's put it this way. When you're saying structured lives, ooh,
no fun there.
I get to cook meatloaf once a week.
Yeah, no more meatloaf.
I love this. I'm so glad we were able to finally do this and get some readings, and I think it's really interesting. And how can people find you on Instagram and TikTok?
Yeah, so if they want to find me, I only have those two platforms. Again, I will say that because there are a lot of fake Facebook accounts and Instagram and TikTok accounts circulating.
She does not DM anybody.
I will never DM you for a reading. I will only DM you if you've DM'd me first asking, how do I book a session? Or can you do a party for me? Or can I fly you out? The answer is always yes to that, by the way. You can always fly me out. But you can find me on Instagram at Sarah's Oracle with a period in between the words. So Sarah's period Oracle. And on TikTok, just Sarah's Oracle.
Are you going to be on, like how often? You said usually every night or at least 5 times a week. So
yeah, so I'm posting daily on TikTok my collective messages, my collective tarot readings. And then I'm going live at minimum 4 to 5 times a week, usually in the evening for when everybody's at home after work or after school.
Oh, and the one thing I did want to ask you, talking about TikTok, how do you know that a TikTok reading is for everybody? And you had said something about it coming up in the feed.
Yeah, so a lot of times I ask Spirit before I sit down and I channel whatever the message is. I say, what do people need to know? Can you place me in front of the collective or in front of the eyes that need to see this message? Or can you just place us on the same path at the same time? So I do think that Spirit has the ability to kind of influence the algorithm at times. But again, if you're just on tarot TikTok, you're going to get 1,000 tarot readings. It's going to be up to the person watching to decide, does this resonate with me? Does it not? But you wouldn't believe how many times I've had a person DM me and say, I tried to scroll past that video 10 times and it kept coming back up.
I've never thought to scroll tarot readings. I just scroll for you.
Yep.
I'm glad we finally were able to do this, and I do appreciate you and everything that you do. I thoroughly enjoy it, and I enjoy learning more about tarot cards and about readings and about spirit. And catch her on TikTok, on Instagram. And my name is Tracy Martins, and this is another episode of YQG and Bloom. You guys all have a good day.